Jackson.
Welcome to the Bird Gang Nation Sports Media Show, repping the greatest team of all time. Let's go! Bird Gang 31, he be the host with the most. We going deep, burning teams. They ain't nothing but toast. It's in your rest stand. Sirianni put me in coach, running like Miles Sanders till I bump my head on the post. Touchdown! Yeah, that's coming. Devontae's crazy route running. Jalen hurting them, throwing lasers to break a young gunning. Come on! On the D side, we ride, sack him with Fletcher, lay him out on the stretcher. No one can protect you. Watch Darius lay him, shutting down your routes. Come on! In my green John, eating Philly cheesesteaks. Put up your cups, wings up, if you can relate. Tailgating at the link like Gans to Stride. To the Bird Gang Nation, that's worldwide. On Sundays, catch the pre and post game. Mondays is Birds on Broad Street with Philly Notion and Cool Cat, the man in motion. And Wednesdays, the midweek special got you open with JC from Eagles Talk, hitting like B-Dog, baby.
Welcome to another episode of Bird Gang Nation Sports Talk. I'm your host, Bird Gang 31. Today, Nation, we got a very special guest back in the building again. It's my guy, E-Rock. How you doing today, my guy?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. Yo, that intro is fire, dude.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah, that's a good intro. I like that.
Hey, man, thanks. You know, shout out to Kevin Estes for doing that for Bird Gang. Much love to you, my guy. So how you been, my guy? It's been a minute since you've been on, you know. I think last time we were singing a sad song. The record wasn't as good. You know, how do you feeling right now about our Birds, baby?
Dude, I put it in my video. The beginning was a sad song. The beginning, like, it's really kind of, I'm at a loss for words for it. The first 7 games were some of the worst Eagles football I've ever seen, you know, in my lifetime. And that's legit. That's not bullshit. That's not... When I think back of some of the bad teams that I've seen over the years, nothing compares to the first 7 games of this Philadelphia Eagles 2021 season. I mean, they looked completely inept, completely lost, completely outmatched, completely out-coached, completely outclassed, completely out everything. And now as we're sitting here on waiting, you know, a couple days until the final game of the regular season against the Dallas Cowboys, which at a point in time we thought, at least maybe we can play spoiler and maybe ruin the Cowboys' chances at making the playoffs or knock them down a seed. All of a sudden we're resting starters and kind of it's a glorified end of season preseason game because we're making a run at the, you know, we've already locked in our playoff spot. So
I call it the only 9-7 first round bye in the league.
I mean, it's unbelievable. This has been by far the biggest in-season turnaround for a Philadelphia Eagles team that I have ever seen before in my life. And then it's really remarkable to think of where they are now. And albeit, I get it. Like, it was against some bad teams in the second half of the schedule. But you got to play who's in front of you. You know what I mean? You can't pick your opponents. And the Eagles handled business, and here they are.
No. What happened there? Oh, we missed you, man. You cut out there for a second.
I'm sorry. Where did I leave you at?
And here we are.
and here we are getting ready to make a postseason run. It is literally the biggest in season turnaround that I've ever seen this Philadelphia Eagles team make. It's remarkable.
Yeah, man, it's great, man. I tell people, you got to look at some key things that happened. Like, yes, we all drunk the Kool-Aid, and we were all super pumped about the season going into it. But you had to be realistic about knowing, A, first 6 games, hardest game on the schedule. B, Nick Sirianni, first time ever head coaching in
Right.
his life, and trying to do the role of offensive coordinator. And C, Shane, that was his first. I mean, Shane Steichen, first OC. I think job he had, and then JG's first defense coordinator job. So putting all that together, you should noon, especially on the offensive side of the ball, when you had all these young pieces. Jalen was young, our receiving core is young, our line was even young. And when you see after week 2 we lost Brooks and say Amalu, so that was even young. So that was
Yeah.
just a lot of young pieces, with Dallas Goddard even being young, first time starting. So it was going to take a minute for these guys to gel. I know the Atlanta game kind of got everybody super hyped too. We're like, oh yeah, but it was just the
Uh,
Falcons, man.
yeah, and you're absolutely right. And not only was it a young, kind of inexperienced team with a young, inexperienced quarterback and a lot of young, inexperienced playmakers, but the biggest worry I had going into the season, and the thing that had me scratching my head the most, was just the coaching staff and the age and experience of the coaching staff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they all, if you lined all of them up, they look like a bunch of dads who are picking their kids up after school. I mean, it looks like, the soccer dads club. They're all 40 years old. I'm 40 years old. Could you
Yeah,
imagine?
me too.
Yeah, could you imagine me coaching the team? Like, that's terrifying. And all these guys, besides Stoutland, there wasn't really a veteran coach on that squad with any sort of real NFL long term, sort of experience. So that's the thing that had me worried the most. And you could see them. You could see them working out the kinks and the communication and how we're going to run our game days, and Steichen calling the plays, or is the quarterback's coach calling the plays, or what's Nick Sirianni doing? Is he being more? How's his handle on the defense? How's Gannon dealing with his defense? It was all kind of a learning experience, and now to add we all knew it was going to be a learning experience, but now to add playoff experience on top of the learning experience is so far ahead of where we thought this team would be and what this team was able to accomplish. Let's not forget that, like, Carson Wentz in year 5, when he was going into that game, which ultimately he got injured by Clowney, but we were just so happy. Okay, Carson's finally going to get some playoff experience. Well, shit, Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. Sirianni is going to get it in his first year as being a head coach, and Jalen Hurts is going to get it in his first full season as a starting quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
That's big. You can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah, and you gotta look at all the accomplishments too. For all these guys, what I'm saying. If we even somehow, I know we're sitting a lot of our starters, but there's still 22 players need to play, and that's not gonna sit. We're not gonna be able to sit all the starters. So
Right.
there are gonna be some starters in there, and with some young players that we are looking to hopefully develop and fill some holes next year in this roster. You gotta look at the things like, not running the ball for 6 weeks. Nick, did it the Falcons game, then he thought, oh, I want to be this revolutionary passing team, what I'm saying, where you don't got the pieces to do it, and I had to come back to earth and realize that we are a ground and pound team, and there's nothing wrong with that, like most teams are that win. You got to be able to run the ball and throw the ball, obviously. And Jalen was still young. Our receivers was dropping passes left and right. For Jalen to still come in, break records that he's done, we got a rushing record, 10 touchdowns, and we've had some rushing quarterbacks, Randall's, the Donnies, the Vicks, like Carson even. Like, we had some people rushing for touchdown. And for him to come in this first year and, kind of solidify himself, I believe, as our next quarterback, in terms of franchise guy, like I don't even think you need to talk about that. We gotta give these players time to develop. I think, can he be? Yes. My ceiling for Jalen Hurts is MVP. Like that's what kind of talent I feel he has. And I've been preaching this all year long. Like you're gonna have to give him time on that passing end, but the rushing end is definitely there, and it's gonna come without him really trying. Like we haven't really seen that many runs this year with Jalen Hurts, which is like taking off like full steam, like juking everybody, dipping and dabbing. Like he had a couple of magical runs. I ain't gonna hate, but it wasn't like Lamar Jackson out there where he is the running back. Every time he gets the ball, he's trying to stiff arm, he's trying to get off. It was straight smoothness. First down, open hole, let me go run and slide and get out the way. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the smooth, poised quarterback that we do got. The Eagles have an opportunity this week to break a record that's been around since 1941. 25 rushing touchdowns in a single season from our franchise, and we're one away from tying it. And it's possibly we can even break it,
Yeah.
against the Cowboys if these running backs do good. So, how do you feel about that? Do you think that's a good accomplishment? Besides the fact that Jalen is a Pro Bowl alternate as well, that's kind of good
Yeah,
stuff.
I'll start with the Jalen Hurts thing. I'm not sure that my ceiling for him is that high. I'm high on Jalen Hurts. Um, I don't know if he's going to be the franchise quarterback for the next 10 years. I know that he's earned through his play this year 100% the opportunity to start next year.
Mhm.
And Jalen's on cheap money right now. He's on a second round rookie contract. So there's no reason not to explore what he can potentially do. I know for a fact the Eagles were in on Deshaun Watson. I know for a fact that they still like Russell Wilson. There's no doubt in my mind they're going to explore opportunities in the offseason to upgrade at the quarterback position with a veteran. Do they pull the trigger on that? I don't know. But if they ultimately decide to hold on to their draft assets and their salary cap room and decide to build further around Jalen Hurts, they're not making a mistake.
Facts.
Like he has earned the right to start. And if that's they're going to explore the opportunity. That's the GM's job. So nobody should take that personal. I know people are very, very sensitive when it comes to any sort of critique of Jalen Hurts or anything like that. But just understand, like, if you hear reports in the offseason that they're inquiring, it's just Howie in the front office doing their due diligence. The Bears are going to do the same thing. The Giants are going to do the same thing. Doesn't mean that they're not in on Hurts. It's just their job is to explore other opportunity, every opportunity to upgrade the football team.
Mhm.
Jalen Hurts has to get better at two things. He's doing great. Don't get me wrong. This isn't a knock on Jalen. He has to get better on two things. One of them he can control, and one of them he can't really control. What he can control is being able to scan the field and not when people criticized him for, being a one look, one read, and if it's not there, run quarterback. As much as people got overly sensitive about it, there was truth to that. He was not scanning the field. He was leaving receivers open. He was going for his first read and taking off. Now, that being said, he's gotten tremendously better at that as the season's going on, and especially in the last 6 games, without a doubt. Without a doubt. So he can still learn and grow into that. He's at a younger age right now, playing right now, than Carson Wentz was when he took the reins for the Philadelphia Eagles. So there's opportunity for a lot of growth there. The other thing that Jalen has to do, which I don't think he can control, is just his arm is a sub-average NFL arm. It is what it is. You can work around it. You can build an offense to kind of hide it, which they've done, which is why they started running the ball so much. I don't know what he can do physically to work on that. It's something that either you have it or you don't. It's like speed. Either you have it or you don't. An arm. Either you have it or you don't. Maybe there's some quarterback coaching that can incrementally make that better. But if Jalen Hurts can learn how to, and another thing you got to remember, like this kid has been in offense after offense after offense. Like he's had no consistency. He's had no same offense 2 years in a row.
Mhm.
So if he can learn Nick Sirianni's offense, furthermore, become an expert at it and learn how to read, a defense better and know how to read the routes post snap better. I apologize. I keep glitching out on you, dude. It's this New Jersey Wi-Fi that we got.
Hey, no problem. Yeah,
I
you're
live out
good.
in the sticks, so it's not so easy. Um, but anyway, getting back to it, if he can learn how to read a defense, go progress through his reads better, and make that arm just incrementally better on the deep ball, maybe we're leaning more towards your side of things where it's he's a potential MVP candidate.
And the only reason why I really say that, in terms of the MVP things, I look at certain things in a different light too. Things that I would say he couldn't control this year. A is, you got 6 games where you kind of got to wash due to the fact that we weren't running successful offense. Period. You know,
I'll agree with that. I'll
we
agree with
were
that.
throwing the ball 40, 50 times a game without running the ball. You can't set
I'll
up the
agree with
pass with the pass type stuff.
that. Mm-hmm.
B, if you add up all the drop touchdowns or all the touchdowns called back this year and you put those into his stats and his the yards into his stats, you got the same as most of these top flight quarterbacks right now. And C, we got to look at him as a dual threat because that's what he is. As termed up Jalen being this all world pocket quarterback. That's just never been his game. And
Mm.
I don't really believe it should have to be his game. The
Nope.
league's transitioning to a more dual threat type quarterbacks in the league. And I think he can thrive pretty good in that. So if you're adding up those stats, and even when you don't add up the misses, Jalen still has like 3,000 yards passing, close to 1,000 yards rushing. That's 4,000 total yards that he put of offense for your football team and close to 30 touchdowns. And that's also putting them up there towards the elite quarterbacks. So those guys aren't really getting too many rushing yards. They might scramble from time to time, but they're not getting those rushing yards on a consistent basis like that. So if you put their totals alongside his totals, those are kind of comparable, comparisons. And the other thing is, it's his first year starting. Like that part of it alone, like I even use examples like even for scout defense, you got all these new defense coordinators, new defensive position coaches. They're not giving them a professional, full blown scout look, out there because they don't even know it yet. They're still learning themselves. And then other than that, it just takes time. Look at Brady, game manager until like year 3. You know what I'm saying? Where Belichick gave him a little bit more reins and he starts taking over the team a little bit more as a passer. Those things come in time. Like that's something that you can't just be like, oh well, he can't read defense. Well, of course he can't. He hasn't been in the league starting that long to even know. These defensive guy coordinators are scheming ways to make him look stupid every single game. You know what I'm saying? So of
Yeah.
course, some of them he's gonna be like, oh well, he did his best, but that's all he can do. And
Which again is a learning experience, and there's a ton of room, and also too he's got really the right attitude for not only Philadelphia but to be a sustainable starter in the NFL. Like he has the right attitude. He works incredibly hard. His teammates love him. He says the right things.
you're good. Yeah, he does, man. Like he's in there, he's
Did I
leading the
lose you, bud?
way, and you could just see that effort of wanting to get better, and that's all we really can ask from him. What do you think
Hello.
about you? Do you think that progression could speed up if we went out and got this guy a veteran target? Uh-oh. But what do you guys think? If we go out and get this guy a target, can you see Jalen improve? Is the question.
Sorry about that.
No, it's good. And I was like, what do you think if we went out and got him like a veteran target? That would help us, maturity out too. Guys that
Sure.
understand that, yes, that is the route you're supposed to run. But me being a veteran, I know what they're doing. So I'm going to slide into these open spots to help my quarterback out. As opposed to you got, even Devontae Smith, he's a good receiver. You know what I'm saying? I love the pick, but at the same time, he's still a rookie. There's things that he can do to elevate his game to that next level. You got Quez and Rager. Those guys, Quez gets open sometime, but he's still not, got the route tree down completely. He don't understand all the defenses too. They had thrown his way. So maybe if you went out and got a guy, to help him, whether it's this off season or now, you got guys like T.O. asking to come back and play. Would you bring a guy like T.O. back? T.O. play. He only needs, like he said, he only needs like 10, 15 plays a game, my guy. But that'll be a productive 10, 15 plays. He has some highlights on Instagram that made me believe maybe we could get a guy like that because he's a big body physical receiver and he's a veteran that can teach these young guys. And if you don't want to go the T.O. route, the Bucks just released Antonio Brown. You know what I'm saying? He's a little bit of a head case,
Nah,
but at the same time, you'll be mad too if you start playing game with a man's money like that. And
yeah.
he's getting these injection shots, and he's still he wants the ball. He should be the second target on the roster. You're not getting the ball thrown to you as much as you should be. So I'm not 100% agreeing with what Antonio did at the end of the game. I think there's a lot of other ways he could have handled it, but at the same time, man, you can't control how people handle certain things. So that's another option in terms of guys that we can pick up just for this playoff run. Just to see if we can up the ante for this playoff run.
Yeah,
Maybe in the offseason, you got
hard,
guys like
hard,
Devontae Adams.
hard pass on both of that.
Hard pass on both from you.
A whole hard pass on both.
No, no, no to you. No to you.
Yeah.
We're not doing
Nah,
that no more in
it's
Philly.
important to roll into the playoffs with what you have right now. They've really built a certain type of culture. Realistically, I mean, I'm under no illusion that they're going to make. Listen, it's great. You have to be realistic about certain things and be excited, but at the same time be realistic. I mean, the reason they're in the playoffs right now is because the back half of their schedule was garbage. I mean, it was the Jets, it was the Giants with Fromm, it was the Washington football team with a COVID riddled team. It was and hey, listen, you play who's in front of you. There's no excuse. You got to play who's in front. You don't get to pick your matchup. This isn't college football where you get to make your schedule. You know what I mean? It's the NFL. We did benefit from a cupcake, COVID-riddled back half of the season. No complaints from me. I'm happy we made the playoffs. But the thing is, like, the Eagles are going to have to figure if they're going to have any sort of success in the playoffs, and I would view success by winning one playoff game. If they win one playoff game, I'll be tickled pink. This is not going to be a deep extended run. But they cannot get behind early and come off to these slow starts like they've been doing when you're playing elite football teams. You know what I mean? And Nick Sirianni has a tendency of, the runs doesn't work and they go down a couple scores and he throws the game plan right out the window, and then it's just pass. Like, we can't see that. We're going to have to see them mature into playoff football. So we're playing with house money right now. If we win a game, we win a game. We don't need any additional help. If we get help, it's going to be with the salary cap space that we have next year or the draft assets that we have. We should be focusing on that long, sustained talent that can grow along with this coaching staff and this quarterback rather than a quick temporary fix or anything like that.
Yeah, I get you. I'm just saying, something exciting, but I feel like a little different about this. I look at it this way in terms of the playoffs, man. You're the number one rush team in NFL in January. You have a top 10 defense. Yes, we can't control the back half of the schedule, but everybody knew that, before the season started, that was going to be a kind of easier slate for us, And but when you look at the games that the good teams we did play this year, we showed fight early when our team was in disarray. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can go at least, 4 of those games and go, we should have won the game, and they were a better team than us. But we should have won. We cost our own selves the game as opposed to the other team actually doing things to, beat us. Like penalties at the end of the game,
Like
coach
like
mistakes.
which game? Like who?
Like, I think San Francisco. I think we should have won the San Francisco game.
100% cost ourselves a game. 100%.
And then I think we could have won the Chargers game. We don't get those penalties late.
Chargers kind of took their foot off the gas, and I think of like Tampa and Brady. Like, the only reason that game was competitive is because Tom Brady lost interest. You know what I mean? Like, they were up so big, then they were dominant. They kind of took their foot off the gas.
But like two of those games, remember at the end, if the defense would have stopped them and we had those two big Barnett penalties, that cost them to continue on those drives that actually, sealed us up there. If we get the ball back, Jalen's hot at that time. Who knows what could happen? We could have won those games, like that's what I mean. Like in terms of, yeah, some of those games they did take the foot off the gas, but at the same time we did catch up too. At the same time, we made turnovers, we produced points on the board. I just look at it like we show fight and we show that we're never really out of any game.
That part I will 100% agree with you and give a salute to the Eagles for doing. They do not. That's the one thing noticeable thing about this team that is really quite remarkable. I mean, you can look at other teams and other games or other teams that we've played, other games in the NFL where a team goes down big time, and there seems to be no fight in them. It seems like they quit, and a lot of sour faces on the sidelines, a lot of people hanging a puss, a lot of people, kind of just giving up. And that was never the Philadelphia Eagles this year. Like even when they were down big, they still battled. Mm-hmm. So that's a testament to the locker room culture. That's a testament to what Nick Sirianni is communicating to the team. Now, granted, a lot of the times Nick Sirianni was the reason why they were down early to begin with, but you got to give him credit for the fight that that they've exhibited during the season.
Yeah, and with that being said, you know what I'm saying, like I said, so and then you look at teams in the playoffs that we could face. I want us to somehow play Tampa first.
Yeah,
for a lot of reasons. You knock off the head of the snake and the champions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're at their weakest point. You know what I'm saying? They're missing Fournette. They don't got AB no more. They don't got Galloway, or his name Galloway, whatever his name is. You know what I'm saying? Your top two receivers are gone. And I think one of those linebackers too, Shaq Barrett, might not be playing. Leonard Fournette might not be playing. That first round of playoffs. That is a prime time if you're ever going to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We played them with all. You seen the fight that we did have when we played them earlier in the season, and to have them missing those many key pieces, I think that could be a team sneaking up and now also running the ball like we wasn't doing earlier in the season. Yeah. That could be that game-changing part. Because I believe our running game can't be stopped. We showed the number one rush defense can do it. Number 3 rush defense can do it. No one's really been able to really do it for real. Like, 100 yards is good, but remember that long stretch of, 200 yards, 250s, we went on. And I feel it's more the linemen, it's the personnel that we have up front that really puts it in there where you don't really need to worry about which back is back there running the ball. All we got to do is call the plays to run it, and then that controls the clock. That keeps those other explosive offenses off the field. And I think, first I would say Tampa Bay, second I'll say like the Arizona Cardinals, because like statistically on paper, we have a better football team than them. We have a better overall offense than they do. We have a better overall defense than they do. So on paper, that's another team. It is all on paper. And they also had, a slump towards the end. And it's about the team hot going into the playoffs, not the team that's just, getting in there because of what they did earlier in the season. So those will be my top 2 teams to play the first round. After that, I'll probably say, the Rams, because they're more of a finesse team. You know what I'm saying? I see if we were more of a passing team, probably having more trouble with those guys. And plus they got Matt Stafford, who hasn't proven anything yet. So, that will be my pecking order of teams to play this first round. And I think if we got it in that order, like we can probably get out of this first round with a W.
Yeah, I don't disagree with your list at all. I mean, the top of mine is Tampa Bay for all the injuries that they're having, the fact that they're, kind of cool, going into the playoffs a little cool, a little with, some locker room drama with AB. Fournette not being there is huge, and you have the ability to take advantage, and a lot of veteran leadership on this team that has beat Tom Brady once and knows what that's all about. So I would say Tampa Bay 100% number 1, Arizona number 2. If it's the Rams, like traditionally when you see championship style teams that are known for running offense, it's accompanied with, and it's almost never excluded, it's always accompanied with a dominant defense. Take a look at when the Giants both times beat Tom Brady. It was a running. It wasn't Eli Manning, although he made spectacular plays in the Super Bowl. It was a ground and pound running game and a dominant defense. When Joe Flacco and the Baltimore Ravens, same story. You can. I apologize, man. So anyway, when you take a look back at Seattle, you're talking Legion of Boom, Marshawn Lynch, all those ground and pound teams that have been successful and ultimately won a Super Bowl usually have a dominant defense to combine with that offensive running game. Eagles defense is just not there yet.
The top 10, the top 8, the top 10 right now.
Yeah, listen, man, stats will lie to you.
And then think about it too. Even some of the more recent losses.
I don't care. I don't care about the rankings. That's what I see on Twitter all the time. Just stats. If you take a look at these numbers, numbers lie. Like, trust your eyes. You know what I mean? Is this defense really willing or able to go toe to toe with an Aaron Rodgers led or a Matthew Stafford led offense? It's just not.
Hey, how about this? Do you think it's the actual defense? Because you got to realize our defense has all the veterans. We have the good players on the defensive side that are veteran players. The Fletcher Coxes, the Darius Slays, even Nelson's a veteran. You got Harris, you got McLeod, you got Hargraves. These are all veteran players that can, come together. And a lot of our mistakes usually come from the coaching laws. What, JG's really been calling out there. But the only defense I have to JG is, regardless from that, like, we haven't really that many times been blown out. Like, even in some of the losses, you think the Giants game, they only scored 13 points that game. Like, they're still keeping teams. I think our average is 17 points a game. And for real in the NFL, I feel like there's no real elite team this year. All the best teams have been beaten by garbage teams this year. Whether late in the season.
All I'm saying is like, when I trust my eyes and don't even look at the stat, and I don't look at stats. When I trust my eyes, this defense isn't there yet. They've got some pieces. They're just not there yet, and especially with the slow starts that they've been having, giving up points early, can't do that in the playoffs. You can
think it's more the players or the coach?
Yes, you can do that against the Jets. You can do that against the Washington football team. You can do that against the Giants. If you do that, I mean, take a look at the earlier games where it was, boom, Brady on top of you, Dak Prescott on top of you. And then your ground and pound run game goes right out the window because you're playing catch up. You know what I mean? So, listen, I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I'm just trying to be realistic about where this team is, who they've played, what the statistics reflect. And again, they've got a ton of salary cap next year. They've got a ton of draft picks, and they're going to address a lot of this. They're just not there yet. It's kind of unreasonable to expect this team to go in a deep playoff run with all this, new young coaches, new young talent, new young inexperienced everything. They're not there yet. If they win one, listen, we might get the Buccaneers, and I hope we do, and I hope we kick Tom Brady's ass. But just sustained.
But on that note, I was asking, do you think it's more the players or the coach, or it's just a mix of both?
I think it's a mix of both. I easily think it's a mix of both. Everybody's got to mature into it. Everybody's got to mature into it. Does Kelsey got to mature into it? No. Does Lane got to mature into it? No. Does Dickerson and Mulata got to mature into it? Yes. Do the running backs got to mature into it? Yes. Do all the receivers have to mature into it? Yes. Does the quarterback have to mature into it? Yes. Do the linebackers have to mature into it? Yes. Certain players on the secondary have to mature into it. Not excluding Slay, excluding Nelson, excluding McLeod. It's they're not there yet. But the thing is, and I put in my video, the thing that I'm hopeful for is, like, they will be. I 100% believe, like, going into next year, if people aren't talking about the Philadelphia Eagles and the offseason moves haven't even been made yet, but you can kind of suspect what it's going to be. A lot of draft picks and a lot of money spent. This to me has a lot of 2016 vibes where, again, the Eagles, Doug Peterson, Carson Wentz, first-year quarterback, first-time head coach. You saw, even though they only ended up with, 6 or 7 wins, you saw glimpses. You saw flashes of like, oh, shit, they're on to something here. Like, they're not there yet, but they're on to something. And then what did they do? They spent, they made the right moves in the offseason, acquired the right veteran wide receivers, Alshon, Torrey Smith. They brought in a veteran edge rusher and Chris Long. They brought in a veteran cornerback. The veteran running backs that they brought in. So you took a young team with a young head coach and a young staff that was working together. You surrounded with some veterans, and then all of a sudden, bing, you win a Super Bowl. So right now, if I'm going to compare this team to anything, it's going to be 2016 Philadelphia Eagles. And listen, 2017 could be right around the corner again. It depends on they have to do the right moves again, but they're just not there yet. I'm happy with the direction. I can't bitch about the direction. I love it.
Like obviously, everybody can say as of right now, it's a win. The season, the period. Regardless on what happens in the playoff, this is
regardless
a
of what
season.
happens. The 2021 Philadelphia Eagles season is a success. Period. End of discussion. Dallas fans can kiss my ass. Giants fans can F off. You know what I mean? Like this season is a success when everyone was picking us to be at the bottom of the division.
Yeah. What do you think? Let's just go past this season. Like, because I think, like you said in the video too, like we are playing with house money. Any given Sunday, I think all these teams in the playoffs can get it. You know what I'm saying? I said that from the beginning with the roster we have. All these teams can get it. Like you said, they all need to come together. There has to be some magical stuff going on. But I still feel like all these teams can get it. And, I won't put a cap on how far I think they can get inside there. You know what I'm saying? If we win the first game, I'll be happy. We lose the first game, whatever. I'm happy we even make it into the playoffs and we can talk about it. And next year, what do you think are some of the biggest needs? What would you like to do with these first 3 first-round draft picks? If you were the GM, what would you do with the first 3 draft picks?
Well, first of all, I don't think they're going to use all 3. Okay. I think they will bank one of them for a first-round pick next year. In other words, all right, let's take the Colts pick. Let's rewind to a scenario not so long ago where the Eagles had a very late, I think it was coming off the New Orleans Nick Foles, ball through Alshon Jeffrey's hands, where they had the 28th pick, and Baltimore moved back up in the first round to go get Lamar Jackson, and we acquired another second-round pick. Mm-hmm. So I could easily see the Colts pick or another pick, team wants to move up. All right, cool. Well, give us your first-round pick next year and an additional 2 this year. So you can have 2 first-round picks this year, next year, and 2 twos this year. I don't think they're going to use – and honestly, if I was a GM, I don't think I would use all 3 first-round picks.
You don't think we need that kind of first-round talent? Like, I understand a lot of people think about the banking stuff, and I feel like either A, since we're not getting those top 10 picks we thought we were getting in the beginning of the season, when us, Miami, and the Colts were not playing so good, you know what I'm saying? They're like, Eagles could have 3 first top 10 picks, Right. That was awesome. Now we're looking like we're getting like one maybe 15 to 20, and then the other 2 definitely 20 to 32, depending on how far anybody goes, Would you just consider maybe 2 picks and package that up and move up to the draft to get a more elite player? Because I feel like we need elite player. We need to stop with this whole worrying about the second half of the draft. I think one of our problems is we're not getting these, especially on defense. Like for me, I will go grab one of these top flight linebackers, and if you can package up and get one of these top flight defensive players, besides linebacker, like, a Hutchinson or, a Hamilton type guy, a safety, that can play the box too, go do that, package up and get up there and grab one of those guys with the 3 picks. I feel like we really do need like 3 elite players, like 3, first round quality players on that defensive side of the ball. Like whether they all three pan out or not, that's another thing. But I think our team could really use that injection of like just pure talent. We never really draft first round linebackers. Usually we're going first round linemen, whether it's offensive lineman, defensive lineman. And I feel like we can actually do something different this year and put it in our defense with three actually first round defensive guys and maybe pick up like a veteran receiver, through free agency.
I don't disagree with it.
You know. Well, yeah, man. That's how I see it. Like I said, like we don't know what Howie's going to do. Howie could mess this all up. I don't feel like he is, just because I feel like that was another thing. How would you grade Howie Roseman? Are you still on the board where we should still try to work on getting him out of the building, or are you looking at some of the moves he made? Like you look at that, what was it, the 18th draft where we just extended all these guys. That's from it. That are quality players. How you evaluate Howie right now?
Howie is. I'm trying to think of a baseball player. Forgive me that I'm not up on my baseball recently, but Howie's kind of like the Ryan Howard of GMs, where he's going to take a lot of swings. They love acquiring draft, but he's going to take a lot of swings at the plate, and when he misses big, but when he hits big. And there's a lot of the Jalen Regers he'll never be forgiven for. The Andre Dillards, he'll never be forgiven for. DK Metcalf, although you can argue that 31 other teams passed up on him twice or three times, before he got drafted. But then you take a look at some of the most recent drafts, where they're now extending guys, the Goddards, the Avonte Maddoxes of the world. And recently, he's had some pretty solid drafts. And I'm not a Howie hater. I'm not a Howie super fan either. I'm just kind of like, tolerating him, because the man did give us the Super Bowl. We all want to kind of forget that, but it's true. And we all want to kind of discredit it and think that it counts for nothing, but it is true.
And that year he was GM of the year that year too.
Yeah. So he's sticking around. Yeah, I think that's ultimately what it comes down to, is that he's good. He's gonna be here. It's gonna happen. So I feel like I'm more tolerating him than I. And listen, I got to keep it 100. It's the same thing with Jalen Hurts. It's the same thing with Carson Wentz. It's the same thing with the coaches. You see so much. It's exhausting to look at, and anybody watching this right now will know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm on the same board. Like he ain't going nowhere. I don't think. I think he's a smart man.
Hold on. I'm making a point. Oh. So it's exhausting anymore to look at Twitter, to watch YouTube, to everything's hot takey, right? So people dig their heels in real hard on a take, and they will not fucking give an inch. Like the Jalen Hurts haters are no more convinced right now that he could possibly turn into a good quarterback than they were in the beginning of the season.
Facts.
The Jalen Hurts blind supporters will take any sort of slight, or any sort of, not even a slight, I should say a critique of Jalen Hurts' game as a slight upon the quarterback. It was the same way with Carson. Anybody who dared, criticize Carson, they would just type about all the reasons why. What I'm trying to say is, in the judgment of Howie Roseman, in an environment where everyone is so dug in on their takes, I come from a position is like, look, when you fuck up, I'm going to say it. When you need to work on something, I'm going to say it. When you're doing good at something, I'm going to say it. When you deserve praise, I'm going to say it. So nobody's above a pat on the back or a foot in the ass. You know what I mean? So Howie Roseman deserves a foot in the ass for a lot of the draft mistakes he's made. But I'm watching Twitter today, and I even deleted the tweet. Like I typed it up and then I deleted it, and it said like Howie Roseman, for as many times as he's missed, deserves criticism for that. But honestly, for a lot of the things he's done as far as cleaning up the salary cap, putting us in the position that we have with 3 first-round picks next year, with some of the recent draft picks that he's made, which have been contributing on the field early and often, he deserves a pat on the back. You will not see people give him a pat on the back, but he deserves a pat on the back.
Yeah, and that's true, man. And I totally agree what you're saying about, the haters going to hate, the
Yeah.
supporters are going to support, because I am kind of one on the supporter side. But for me, I look at it like this. Like, I feel like you criticizing a young player that obviously that everybody knows needs to develop. There's players 10 years in the league that still need to develop, at parts of their game, And then you look at, like, I just look at the rest of the league when it comes to, like, the real critique. Like, you miss some throws. I'm like, well, every quarterback misses throws, and these guys know about the defenses. You got guys like Tom Brady miss throws. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys all do it too. So in terms of, like, really always getting so hard down on the young guy, it's a season. This is just time for us fans to support them and uplift them. Let's talk about them, and what we think needs to happen more towards the offseason as opposed to every single game, nitpicking the game by game scenario, where there's just things has to change. Like, that's just like a given. You know what I'm saying? He's young buck.
Let me answer J Rock 360's question, which is, do you believe that Hurts and Smith can turn Rager's career around in the offseason? I believe they can. To be honest with you, if you're relying on Hurts and Smith if anybody's relying on other people to turn around their own career, they're doing it wrong.
Facts.
The only person that can turn around the career is Jalen Rager. The only person that can get the fuck off social media so he's not all in his feelings,
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Rager. The only person that can really kind of fix himself is Jalen Rager. And listen, I hope he does it, but it could be a Nelson Aguilar situation where just Philadelphia. Listen, Philadelphia is not a market for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, Philadelphia is hard. We're into it. Doug Peterson, even as he's speaking now, kind of doing his media I want to coach again tour, will tell you straight up that they kind of take it a little too seriously over there, which we don't believe that we do. But I can see where Doug's coming from, where we're not getting our way. We don't like what we see. We spit fire. You know what I mean? Can you handle the heat?
Can you handle the heat? Carson can handle the heat.
Carson,
Like you said, I feel like Jalen's the same. That's the same thing that's happening with Rager. Is she's too into, like, trying too hard to please everybody instead of just chilling and sitting back and playing some football. How you're gonna stop the hate? Catch the ball. You know what I'm saying? You know how you're gonna stop the hate? Put some stats up on the board. To stop the hate. If you don't produce when you're in the game, then of course the hate's just gonna continue to come. And like you said, you gotta get out of your own way. It's more of a mental thing than an actual. Oh, he physically can't be a good receiver in the league.
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah, DK for a first or second. Would you make that move, DK, for a first or second round for Seattle?
Why would Seattle give that up? Why would Seattle give him up? That would be
because Russ is leaving, and they're gonna be rebuilding over there.
Nah, but they're not rebuilding. They're not looking to get rid of DK. I mean, Russ, yeah, I can see them moving on from Russ, but like, why would you? Why would you? He's dominant. Nah. If I'm Seattle, I'm telling you to get the hell out of here.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm into whoever you can bring. Like, I really do believe we should get a veteran receiver. If you look at some of these really top quarterbacks, Kylers, the Bradys, the Herbers, the freaking Rams and Matthew Stafford, they all have more than one Dak in Dallas. You got more than one starting receiver that's like, your number one receivers on your team. And I'd say that, if we got two number ones, obviously Devontae still be a number one, but if you got a guy like, that's big time, like Devontae Adams or something like that, another, starting number one quality, like 1A to 1B type pairing that, our passing game could be a lot better, but right now we have a lot of young guys trying to, become that next player. And we don't know if they're going to fully become these players that we want them to be. We see potential, but is that going to actually unfold into actually being a star in the NFL type thing when you can go out there and go lock yourself one of these, good veteran, starting caliber receivers, and you already know what you're getting when you get them, and just bring them in the fold like a Mike Williams from San Diego. I mean, not San Diego, LA Chargers. That'd be a good pickup this offseason. Like I said, Adams would be a good pickup. Maybe even what's his name, Robinson? His name Robinson
Yeah.
from the Bears.
Yeah, Bears. Yep.
Yeah, Robinson from the Bears, like one of those type guys, and just bring it, or even like an OBJ. How you feel about like an OBJ coming over here? He's kind of erecting his career over there with the Rams. He's on a 1 year deal as well. What do you think about OBJ coming?
No, I've read this book before. I mean, it's time and time again. It's OBJ gets a fresh start in Cleveland, it goes wrong. Antonio Brown gets a fresh start in Tampa, it goes wrong. T.O. gets a fresh start. The only wide receiver that I've ever seen that genuinely got like a fresh start, I'll name two of them, that it worked out for them, I would say, is Chris Carter, coming from the Eagles and then going to the Vikings and have a long sustained career there. And the other one is Randy Moss, coincidentally, another Viking who went to Oakland. That didn't end well, and then when he got under Bill Belichick, had a couple of very productive, low drama seasons. But there's just something about these diva wide receivers that just hey, listen, it might be that when the honeymoon phase ends, it just ends, and it doesn't end well. And it's just the same story over and over again. And I'd rather go out and get an Adams, where an Adams, I think, is a realistic target. I don't think that's beyond us, or we're going to have the salary cap space. I think Aaron Rodgers is moving on from there. If Rodgers isn't there, if you're Adams, why not secure your bag and try to go to another team and be the guy on that team,
Yeah. Well, what we would say about today's news, how they talk about really wants out of Atlanta. Would you bring him, since he's an Alabama receiver, to pair him up with a guy like Devontae Smith? Do you think really is good enough to come in here and produce?
I like all that. I'm not giving up one of those first for him. Only because, and I get the Alabama thing, and Jalen Hurts is here, and Smitty's here, and they're Alabama boys. I get it, but if that guy, we thought Rager was insensitive. Like if he genuinely, and that's the report down there that he developed some mental health issues from being on social media, which is a legitimate thing. I'm not discrediting it or saying it's a fake thing. It is a real thing. But that's Atlanta. I can tell you during Atlanta's home opener, the stadium was half empty and taken over by Eagles fans. That is a low ball, low pressure market. You're going to take a kid you're going to give up a first round pick, and he's certainly a first round talent. Not saying
you think he can get a first round pick for him after this year?
Anyway, I would give up a second for him, but I'm not giving up a first round pick for him. I gamble a second away.
I don't think he will cost a first anymore, because after Calvin left, this year him being a man, he didn't really produce. You had Pitts producing most of the yards. I know he was hurt a lot of the season, but he wasn't like breaking the big plays off like he did, the years he did have Calvin. I know everybody say, not Calvin, Jones. I know everybody said Jones was hurt. That's last year when he was there a lot of the season. But at the same time, teams knew about Jones. So they were already putting the pressure on Jones, and he kind of had the second receiver. And then even when Jones went down, everybody wasn't really worried about him. It was kind of like his first year to kind of go out there, because at the beginning of this year, even when he was healthy, man, he hasn't really done nothing too special to me, I don't think.
Yeah, he's undoubtedly a first-round talent, and I think it would be a good home for him given his former teammates, college teammates here on the team. My only big concern is, we get sick of Jalen Rager. like we boo his ass, and it's a thing. Like it's a thing in Philadelphia. Philadelphia Sports Talk Radio for a week was like, should we boo it? Should we be boo? Like Philadelphia is questioning their own boo. It's like, are we doing the right thing here? And he still trots his ass back out there for punt returns and tries to make something out. Like I can give him credit. He still goes out there and tries to make plays. Calvin Ridley did not. He just bounced. He dipped. So yeah, like I'm hesitant to give up a lot for that kind of gamble in a market where I know it's going to be harder.
Yeah. Who do you want to see step up? Since a lot of these players aren't going to be playing in this Dallas game, we got guys like Jacoby Stevens, Sean Bradley. You're going to probably have Goddard sitting out, so you're going to get to see a guy like Tyrese Jackson get some extra playing time. Hopefully, we can get like a Huntley or Gainwell gets more bulk of the rep. Like, who are these young players that you're hoping to see come out of this game and actually show that they're worth being on the team next year?
Yeah, the last one he hit, I was waiting for you to say it, is Gainwell. He was kind of a big part of the offense in the first 3 games, and then kind of fell off the map. I mean, it was where did he go? Just kind of got wrote out of the script. So I'd like to see him have a big game. Obviously, I think the more snaps Rager gets, the more beneficial it'll be for him. And Jackson at tight end, he was the training camp darling. Everybody raved about, what he can do in his future. Now, granted, the dude had a broken back, so, he's slowly transitioning. But he earned that roster spot, and I would love to see him display his talents and really get an opportunity to be that. The guy's a monster. I mean, Jackson is just towers over every. Like, when you look at Jackson, when you see him up close, you're like, holy shit, this guy's big. He's got the wingspan of a small plane. You know what I mean? I'd love to see him get in the mix and show off that talent.
And what about some of the defensive guys? You got those 2 corners we picked up, that Denver cat, Vincent from LSU, Vincent Jr. You got Tay Gowan, we got in the Zach Ertz trade, and then you got the Zach McPherson, who we drafted ourselves. Do you want to see any of those guys? You think any of those guys to step it up?
I mean, I would like to see it. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of any one of those guys.
None of them, not even McPherson?
Yeah, I'm not big on McPherson.
So you still think we need to go grab another cornerback?
Oh, well, if we're talking about spending those 3 first-round picks without naming players or knowing how the board falls, corner, linebacker, defensive end. You know what I mean? You need somebody opposite. You need a lockdown. Listen, Nelson, maybe they sign him to another year. Maybe they don't. But you definitely need CB2, which eventually, when Slay kind of, Slay's up there in age, eventually in a couple of years is going to need to be CB1. You need a linebacker. You need a line. We've needed a linebacker. This isn't news. Like,
for a long time.
You know what we should really do? We should really get a linebacker. No shit, Eric. You know what I mean? Like, it's known that the last time we had, a Pro Bowl caliber. I mean, you could kind of D'Amico Ryans it. Jordan Hicks really hadn't matured into the Jordan Hicks that we know now and couldn't stay on the field. I mean, really.
Did Najee Bradham make the Pro Bowl?
What's that?
Did Bradham make a Pro Bowl?
He might have, but he was an outside backer.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a guy in the middle. I'm talking about a trot. You know what I mean?
Trotter. That was the last real linebacker for real.
Genuinely dominant middle linebacker, and that's what I think we need is a middle linebacker, and then a defensive end, because Barnett, I don't think he'll be around next year.
What about Epps? You like Epps? I hear a lot of people like Epps. That guy, he can come in and start if Harris or McLeod doesn't play. Epps is that next guy. He's putting in the work. He's made some plays. Are you on the board of Epps?
Yeah. Going past McLeod, who again is getting up there in age, Slay, who's still playing at the height of his game, but granted, age creeps up on you. and Nelson, who I think is a serviceable number 2. I'm not a big fan of really. All right, Avante, he gets lost in all that. But Avante is a really great slot corner.
Yes.
Like, which is a specialty thing in this league.
Mm-hmm.
We saw him on the outside. Not great. Slot, phenomenal. God bless. Do your thing. That's why you earned that extension.
Mm-hmm.
So he tends to get forgotten about. But when we're talking about just, your base package, not nickel, besides Rodney, Slay, and Nelson, who can is replaced, I'm not wild about any of them.
No, that's true, man. Hey, man, but we are at that time, man. Hey, give us some hope, man. Give us a nice little spiel for the playoff. What should the Eagle fans really be preparing themselves for this playoff before we get you out here, my guy?
Well, first of all, you're playing with house money. This season's already a W. You've already won, Eagles fans. Regardless of what the score is in the playoffs or how the outcome goes or how deep they go, you already are walking home with a W. Because all the Giants fans, the Washington fans, the Dallas fans told you weren't shit and you were going to be at the bottom of the basement. And guess what? Now all of a sudden they got to be worried because a team that they thought they didn't have to worry about not only made the playoffs, but they're going to get better this offseason. So Eagles fans just feel confident in the fact that you're walking away with a W. And this is the uptick, dude. This is 2016 vibes. Does that mean 2017's next year? Does not mean. But what it means is you should have a lot of hope and a lot of faith and be feeling good about this Philadelphia Eagles team moving forward. We're on the cusp of being legitimate contenders, perennial contenders, like we were under McNabb and Reed. Like this thing is headed in a very, very positive direction. So be excited, keep bleeding green, and go Birds.
Yes, sir. And I think we both said that we'd rather have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers first, picking that wild card, man. Hey, man, thanks again, E-Rock, for stopping by, my guy. Much love. Always like having you on the platform whenever I can get you on here.
Appreciate it.
And like I said, man, anything can happen. It's going to be a wild ride. Let's just enjoy and be happy where we're at. Shout out to the 37 in here. Please like and subscribe to both our channels. All channels are inside of the chat. And, fly, Eagles, fly. Till next time, this BG31, E-Rock in the building. We out. Peace.